Welcome back. BS with Brian Simpson. We are, why is this right here? We got a few emails. I want to get to those. Quickly update. Okay, this is from Butsy. All right. Hey, Brian, love the podcast and live at the mothership. Thanks, man. Go check that out on Netflix right now and stream it live. By the way, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you want advice from the advice champ, email me at BSwithBrianSimpson@gmail.com. I'm here for all of the advice. It's not good advice, but it's funny sometimes. I just had a question about your self-described cynicism. Oh, sorry. Wait a minute. Sorry. Let me start over. Hey, Brian, love the podcast and live at the mothership. Feeling at least 15% gay today. Good for you. I just had a question about your self-described cynicism. Are you inherently cynical, or is it something you developed over time? I myself am constantly fighting the urge to be cynical about the world, be it people, events, etc. Yeah, I feel like that too. Like I'm constantly fighting it because I know that it's not productive or helpful or healthy. But it also feels true. It feels like correct. You know what I mean? Like it feels wrong morally, but correct factually. So it's like I'm always living in that middle ground. Anyway, I try to accept myself in all ways, but I do not want to let cynicism inform my decisions, and I'm very protective about my idealist or optimist viewpoints. Yeah, it sounds like we're on the same page. I trust people. Sometimes I get burned, and I generally have hope for the future. It's very hard for me to trust people because most people full of shit. You know what I mean? Most people aren't really being themselves when they first meet you anyway. I think that's why I've always been the person that would like befriend the weirdo or the strange person, or at least not even if we didn't end up being friends, at least like try to get to know like how they mind work, why are they strange, that kind of thing. And mostly it was, I think, like looking back on it, I think I felt safer with the strange people because I knew they was being real. You know what I mean? And that was way before it was cool to act strange like it is now, but whatever. Can you fight against your cynicism? Is it something you accept? How does your cynicism affect the way you move about in the world and treat people? Yeah, I mean, you fight against it with facts because the truth is the world isn't all bad. And the truth is most people are not, most people don't have nefarious intentions. Most people are just not intelligent, and they're not accurately self-assessing, and when it comes to being selfish, like, listen, I know that the number one motivator of human behavior is incentive. So in other words, most people will do what benefits them, and sometimes what's best, like what you feel is best all depends on how you define best. Because for some people, like what's best is whatever benefit them in the moment. And they don't think past that moment. They don't think about the community. Or at least they put the community second because they don't see themselves as a part of it. So they don't see the long-term benefits of certain behaviors that might not benefit them personally in the moment, but may benefit the community as a whole, of which they are a part. You know what I mean? And so my point is, and that sounded like a whole bunch of word salad, but it makes perfect sense if you, right at a minimum threshold of intelligence, that made sense, right? If that confused you, even after giving it a second thought, it's like, that's what I mean, is being selfish is simple. It's easy. It's the path of least resistance. And most people are going to take that, and I know that that's true. But I also know that most people don't want to be evil, or at least they don't want to be seen as evil, and they certainly don't want to look at themselves as evil, and I also know that when there's more than enough resources for everyone, the majority of people I've met tends to bring out the best in them. So as long as there's enough for everyone, most people aren't going to be selfish. But you're still going to have that one selfish or two selfish pieces of shit that ruin things for everyone. I mean, think about every group you've ever been a part of. It's always one motherfucker. It's always one. I learned that in the military was the first time I encountered that, where it was like it's always one person that just, like, in the face of all logic and reason, they just do something that is astonishingly selfish. And it affects everyone, and they don't make the connection. They don't see the problem of what they did. So like I said, I don't know. I mean, you fight against it with the truth is what makes you cynical, but the truth is also what keeps you from being fully cynical, because the world isn't all the way fucked. It never has been and never will be. It's always going to be good people out there. Most people just want to feel safe. For the most part. But the problem is we live in a world where most people are not safe. So that's, cynicism isn't like it's not informed by like some absolute fact that isn't counterable with other information. So I think as long as you don't fully succumb to it, and to the point, like, because people do this with politics, where like that you get to the point where you only subscribe to things that tell you what you want to hear. It's a video I saw of a dude, like a clip of a dude he told a dude, he said, look around the room and tell me how many blue things you see, or something like that. And the dude looked around the room and he was like, I don't know, 11. And the dude, he was like, okay, well, how many red things did you see? And there was plenty of red shit around the room, but he didn't know, because and the guy's point was that you see what you're looking for. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say is, I feel like as long as you aren't only looking for things that reinforce your cynicism, as long as you're looking at things objectively, I think you're going to stay somewhere right in the middle. I don't think it ever go away unless you just choose ignorance. Ignorance is bliss. There's a reason why that's an old saying. But how does it affect how I treat people? Man, I try to lead with respect. That's all it is. I try to just be respectful. I've learned, I've really, really worked on this, because I've always, like, my default setting is blabber. I just blah, 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 blah. I can just talk. And I've really worked on just being quiet and listening to listen, and not just listening to respond, not listening to and thinking of my response. I've been really, really working on that. And remember, like, it's easy to hate people that you don't know none of, like people that ain't never been in your life, certain groups of people you ain't never met none. It's easy for you to turn them into anything in your mind. So that's another thing. I just say carry on as usual. But no, it doesn't affect how I treat people unless, like I said, I try to lead with respect. Respect will save your life, right? As surely as, or more accurately, disrespect can lose you your life. So, that's the first thing you need to learn. If you ever going into an environment, whether it be a neighborhood or a state or a setting or a country, the first thing you need to learn is, what is disrespectful here, so I don't do those things. Just being respectful can just keep you safe. It can take you a long way. So that's all it is. I try to be respectful to as many people, as much as I can. I gotta really think you're a piece of shit for me to not be respectful. Anyway, much love from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Oh shit. I linked the track below from my solo EP entitled Not a Cynic, which touches on these themes. If you like the track, I highly recommend the full EP. I'm a professional mechanical engineer, but creating music is my passion. Well, okay, your shit on Spotify, Butsy. All right, let me check you out.
I'm making up my own problems. I got
Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. You're holding a tune pretty well. You're losing it a little bit at the end when you drag out the notes, but that's good harmonies. That's good melody. I like that. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. That kind of music is that's up my alley when it comes to that sort of music. I like the harmonies. I love a harmony. I love a good melody. I'm always gonna be on some boom bap. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. But Butsy, Al Butsy, not a cynic. Okay, that's the whole project. I'm gonna fuck you. I'm gonna check you out. I'll check you out. Okay. What's up, Brian? Josh from Dallas. Would like to hear your final thoughts on the Thug case. You seem to be following it pretty closely for most of the trial. It's over. This is another thing. Like I didn't speak on it when it happened, but so if y'all haven't been following, Young Thug rapper was on trial, a RICO trial in Fulton County, Georgia. And you know what? I'm not gonna go through the whole fucking thing. If you give a fuck, you already watching some of the shit. Yeah, I knew when I saw who the jury was, I knew that they felt exactly like I felt. That I was over it months ago. It was clear that this prosecution didn't have a case, that they were trying to piece the case together as they was trying it. And that would have just made me feel disrespected. So they would have never got a guilty out of me, which is why I think Young Thug should have went to the end. He should have took his verdict because he would have got off. Those jurors was already over all that shit. So Young Thug, he ended up getting, I forget what kind of plea they called it, but basically, it's a non-negotiated plea, which means like negotiations with the prosecution failed, so the judge gets to decide, like he's going to plead guilty to XYZ, and the judge will decide what the punishment is. And he ended up getting like, I don't know, a decade of probation or something crazy like that, but no prison time. Fulton County wants to keep all his stuff because they steal. They want to keep all his expensive watches and all of this other shit. Yeah, that asset forfeiture shit is fucking evil, man. And then his two of his co-defendants, one of them was found not guilty on all charges, and one of them was found guilty only on possession of a firearm by a felon. So yeah, this whole 2.5 years, it's still more people that have yet their trials haven't even begun, because apparently in Fulton County, they can just hold you indefinitely. Some people haven't even been charged yet, and they just in jail, which is wild. Yeah, but yeah, that it makes me want to avoid Fulton County, Georgia at all costs. Now, it became famous because Fani Willis is the prosecutor. She also just won an election again, because most people don't even follow but she evil, man. And I think most people forget that because she went after Trump, so they think, oh, she's on my side. It's like, no, she was trying to make a career for herself, and and it was the same thing with Young Thug. They saw a young rapper, that was from the hood, so he had friends from the hood and record label, and they, throwing up signs, and they tried to put it together like it was a gang, and they knew it wasn't a criminal organization. You know what I'm saying? And so they definitely didn't have the proof that it was. So they really, and you could tell they were doing a lot of evil shit that they normally get away with. And so, yeah, man, there's nothing in the world that would make me move to Fulton County, Georgia. Nothing. Just seeing how, and the thing is, I honestly believe if this trial hadn't been so public, they would have railroaded those boys, because you could tell they do it all the time. That Judge Glanville guy, he was the first judge on the case. You could tell, like, the corruption run deep. They get away with the amount of times I saw the judges warn the prosecution about illegal shit they was doing. For example, they must have did this like 40 times through the trial, where they would have. So what's supposed to happen is you're not supposed to be able to do what they call trial by ambush. So you're not supposed to be able to, despite what you might see in movies and shit like that, when both sides walk into the courtroom, they are fully aware of the evidence the other side is going to use, because you have to be able to prepare your arguments against it, right? That's only fair for you to get a fair trial. They can't just pop up evidence on you. So what Fulton County District Attorney's Office would do is they would wait until the last minute, first of all, right? And then they would send like 50 gigs of evidence and go, we're going to use some of the stuff in there. Right? Thereby putting, and they know exactly what they're going to use. They're going to use like 2 pieces of paper in there, but they want you to have to go through 1,000 forms and prepare for everything, right? Which is against the law, right? And they got away with it over and over and over and over and over and over again. And here's the other thing. What's supposed to happen, the way it's supposed to work is before the trial even begins, they without no jury or anything, they go over it with the judge, what's admissible and what isn't. And all the evidence supposed to be in when the trial starts, everything that's going to be used. And they just kept, for 2 years, they just kept trying to introduce new evidence at the last second. And I've watched them get warned about it over and over and over and over and over and over, and they just wouldn't stop because there was never any real penalty. Right? Sure, they lost this trial, but they still got away with doing what they was doing, and they're going to do it to the next motherfucker that's not famous, where it's not going to be televised, where there's not going to be enough community uproar, there's not going to be enough eyeballs on it for them to be in any trouble. You know what I mean? And that case really made me lose faith, what little faith I had in the justice system, just watching how casually they were so corrupt and just cheating and just underhanded, and how both judges were so reluctant to actually punish them. They would lose their temper. They would scream at them. They would yell at them. They would order them to do otherwise, but there was never actually a penalty. Nobody got held in contempt or anything like that. It was like they were very hesitant to. It was almost like they saw themselves as the prosecution's not help, but like mentor. So it was like they would go out of their way not to punish the prosecutors for any of the wrongdoing they did. None of them will ever get in trouble for any of the shit they did during this trial. They was lying to people, lying to the jury, misleading the jury, making misleading statements, getting other people to lie, exposing people's business. All of this, every little dirty little trick, they got away with it. And they still lost. Because it was so egregious. There's no way the juries, because I probably saw 20% of the trial. The YouTubers covering the trial, they probably saw 70, 80%. No, they probably, yeah. And the jury probably saw 50%. Because a lot of the trial happened with a lot of the stuff I saw, the jury wasn't even in the room. It was they were constantly having to stop and argue about shit that the prosecution was doing. It was unbelievable. And so my point is, I don't believe in the justice system anymore. I don't believe you're not guaranteed a fair trial. In fact, I used to believe that you weren't guaranteed a fair trial, but you was most likely to get one, right? Because how often is somebody out to get you or whatever, right? But now I think you're probably more likely to get an unfair trial, if you go to trial. So that's why, I understand more now why people crash out. Like people, recidivism is so high. Like people get out of prison, and when the cops after them, they're like, nah, fuck that. I'm not even taking my chance in court. Fuck that. I'm running. I'm going to Mexico. I'm gonna die in a shootout, whatever. Because I know if I go to court, I'm losing. That type of shit. Yeah. So anyway, those are my final thoughts. Yeah, the trial was bullshit from the beginning. I hope Young Thug gets all his items back. They stole like 6-figure jewelry and shit. And it came up missing. It's not even, they can't find it in the inventory. They swear they left it behind, even though it's on the inventory sheet. You know what I mean? Even though we saw one of the police officers, this is so crazy. We saw one of the police officers wearing the exact watch. A police officer wearing a $100,000 Richard Mille watch, which just so happened to be the exact same kind of watch that was missing from the inventory that they swear they left at the house, even though they wrote down that they took it. That's the type of shit that's happening. And this bitch was on the stand, nigga. She was on the stand with the watch on. You feel me? I'm sorry, he was on the stand with the watch on. And the lady that collected the stuff is the one that said that she left it there. So they took all his jewelry and all this other stuff and left that one watch there. And now don't nobody know where it is. And the police officer was on the stand wearing one. That's what's happening in Fulton County. And even after Young Thug got the probation and all that stuff, one of the caveats that the prosecutor asked for is that he had to forfeit all the stuff they took from him. That's what's happening out there. And Fannie Willis, they, through Freedom of Information Acts, so she was in another controversy where she hired a special investigator that just so happened to be the dude she was fucking, paid him an exorbitant amount of money, and that money appeared to come out of the seizure fund, which is illegal. And when they was pressed on it, they said it was an accounting error, that the money didn't actually come out of that fund. So then where the fuck it come from? Because you don't even have that big of a budget. Like, that's what I'm talking about. It's like the corruption down there, it runs so deep that if you become a target of that system, you almost can't win. You know what I mean? I suggest if you live there, I suggest you move. And if you plan on moving there, I suggest you move somewhere else. You know what I mean? So, all right. This is from Jeremy. All right. Hey, Brian, what's up? I've been a big fan of your stuff since watching you on Netflix, the stand-ups in 2021. That was one of the best days of my life. Go ahead and watch that too on Netflix. Stand-up season 3, episode 1. That's your boy. That was my first thing. I loved Live from the Mothership, also still on Netflix, and have been really enjoying your podcast as well. Thank you, man. Last month, I was lucky enough to finally be able to come out and see your show live in Calgary, Alberta, where I live, and had a great time. So my question is, was that really your last time coming to Canada? If so, that creates a big problem for me because I would love to see your show again, but I'm not allowed to come down to the U.S. because I got caught smoking a joint almost 30 years ago when I was 19. Can you believe that shit? And what's your take on that, bro? Thanks again, my man, and keep up the good work. No, that's not gonna be my last time coming to Canada. I mean, I don't like going to Canada. That's the only thing. But who knows? I mean, I don't want to speak in absolutes. And it's not that I don't enjoy Canada. It's not like I don't think I've ever had a terrible time in Canada. Even when I went to what's the shithole part of Canada? Like the backwood part of Canada, like the Montana of Canada. You know what I'm talking about? With a gray cup, where y'all Grey Cup champions was. It's cold as shit out there. Not Alberta. Anyway, my point is, I've been all over Canada. What I hate about going to Canada, I mean, look, what I hate about my life is flying. I fucking hate flying. And I love performing. I love visiting other cities, but I hate to fly. And the thing is, flying internationally is particularly a pain in the ass. And to go through everything you got to go through to fly internationally, only to end up in Canada, that's what I hate about it. It's like, if I'm gonna jump through all those hoops, I want to end up in France, Korea, Zimbabwe, Japan, somewhere, exotic, not just like United States light. You know what I mean? That's all it is. But I've never had a terrible time. Actually, that's not true. When I went to, but that didn't have anything to do with the city. It was the venue itself that I fucking hated. Where did I go? It was on New Year's of 2024. I was in is it British Columbia? No. Yeah, I don't know. One of them places, not the place Drake from, one of the other places. Anyway, the point is, I'm not going to say it never come to Canada. Now, I think it's nonsense that you can't come here because you got caught smoking a joint. You got caught smoking a joint here or in Canada. That's weird. Yeah, countries are real weird like that. Like, they're like, if you have a DUI here, you can't go to Canada. Isn't that wild? It's like, that's what I mean. It's like, nobody want to go to Canada that bad to be like jumping through hoops. Unless there's money up there. Most people I know that's going to Canada, they're going up there to get money and come back. And so it's like, and that's another thing. That's another reason I hate going to Canada is they tax the fucking shit out of you, even when you're not from there. And then the money, it never translates. It never calculates correctly. So you end up, you know what I mean? You end up, like it always just costs so much money just to bring money back. And you end up having to wait months. Right? Because I don't know if any of y'all if you ever have had to cash an international check, and this might be different once your business hit a certain level. But for me, like for us regular folk, if you try to cash an international check, most banks ain't just gonna cash it. They send it to what they call collections, which isn't what you're thinking. It's where like it's a special department that is literally waiting on the money. So they don't give you a dime. It don't matter what kind of arrangement. Like if I cash any other check, I get all or most of the money immediately, and then a day later I get the rest in my account, right? But if you cash an international check, they don't give you a fucking cent until they literally have the cash from that country. You understand what I'm saying? And it's this whole department whose whole job is to wait on that cash, and that could take months. And then they take a piece of that. They take a piece on top of that. So, say you go to Canada, you make $1,000. Well, Canada want 10, 15% of that, right? So before you even leave Canada, you only got $850 left, right? And then by the time it go through collections and you done paid all the fees and all this other shit, you end up with like $700. You know what I mean? And so that's all I'm saying. It's just it's a pain in the ass to get there. It's a pain in the ass to get home. It's a pain in the ass to get your money. And I'm sure I would probably feel the same way if I was going to any other foreign country. But I would at least get to experience a foreign country. That's all I'm saying. When I go to Canada, it's just like being in America. So I'm going through all that shit for not that big of a bag, for a smaller bag, really. Because when I'm doing the same job I do here, but I make less money because I'm, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like, that's all it is. It's nothing against Canada itself. But yeah, I'll be back probably. No promises. Is that it? One last, hey there, looks like I keep getting emails from this fourth wall company. I don't understand. How do I have spam on an email that I literally don't use this email for anything other than these emails from listeners, and I still somehow have been it's been put into the spam network somehow. My personal email, that shit go back 20 years. I was on Gmail. I was on the beta. You know what I mean? So my personal email is on every fucking list, probably, because I'll never get rid of it. But But for this fresh email that doesn't get used for anything, I've literally never signed into anything with the podcast email, and it's still just, I wouldn't say bombarded. That would be an exaggeration. But there's a lot more spam here than you would imagine. You feel me? It's a lot more spam here than you would imagine. So, that's all those. All right. Now let's cover a couple of articles. I feel like that would be too short of a pod. Sorry, baby, didn't make the cut. I don't know if y'all heard the cat meowing out there, but I tried to tell her to come in here before I close the door, but we're recording. You see the red light? All right. Okay. So let's go. Let's hear some of these motherfucking articles. All right. What is this? Hold on. NBC News. Village People singer denies YMCA is a gay anthem as he defends Trump's use of the song. What? YMCA is not a gay anthem? Willis said the false assumption that YMCA is a gay anthem may be due to several factors. His writing partner and several members of the Village People were gay. The band's first album was totally about gay life, and the YMCA was apparently being used as some sort of gay hangout. You can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. I don't know, man. The YMCA may be the gayest song ever made that doesn't explicitly mention gay shit. Right? Because this is something that a lot of artists don't realize. You don't get to decide what your art means to other people. You know what I mean? That's why I never, it's only an interesting footnote when people want to talk about the artist's intentions, because who gives a fuck? You don't get to decide what people, like how people connect with what you made. It doesn't matter how you feel once you put it out to the public. Yeah, you can tell people what you meant, but that has nothing to do with how it's interpreted, how it's received, what it ends up being, what it ends up meaning. Meaning is always shifting. Meaning is very fluid, it's very dynamic. Things never end up meaning what they originally meant. I think we know that's true of language. I think there's a theory in language, and I don't remember what it's called, but given enough time, words end up meaning the opposite. You know what I mean? Or just artistic wise, like maybe when they made the song, they didn't intend for it to be a gay anthem. I don't even know what made them make a song about the YMCA. Maybe they were paid by the YMCA. It was a theme song. But yeah, it became that. I mean, the thing is, the YMCA, I think back then was a place, because you got to remember the times when back then it was perfectly acceptable to kick your son or daughter out the house if they said they was gay. So it was a lot of homeless gay people looking for community, and the YMCA was like a central, it was like a place you could be a member, and the gay shit was happening. You know what I mean? So yeah, but I mean, if a lot of members of your band was gay and your album was gay themed, and YMCA has become a gay, how can you say it's not a gay anthem? You know what I'm saying? It's like, nigga, look at the swastika. That shit used to mean peace. It used to mean peace. the original meaning of the swastika was peace. Now, nobody gives a fuck. Put a swastika on your arm and tell people, no, it mean peace. Like, we're like, no, nigga, no, it don't. You know what I mean? so it's like, it doesn't matter what the fuck the singer says. You know what I mean? It's like if you think you can take something like that from the gay community, nigga, let me introduce you to the rainbow. In fact, let me look that up. When did the rainbow become gay? When did the rainbow? Oh, wow, that was the first thing that popped up. The rainbow flag became a symbol of the LGBTQ plus community in 1978. Well, see, I don't think that's fair because the Q plus was not part of the thing back then. But it became when artist and activist Gilbert Baker designed it for the San Francisco Gay Freedom Day Parade. Baker was commissioned by the Harvey Milk, the first openly gay elected official in California, to create a visual representation for the LGBTQ plus community. The original flag had 8 colors, each with its own meaning. The flag was first shown at the parade on June 25th, 1978. Demand for the flag increased after Milk's assassination in November 1978. Streisand effect. Baker made changes to the flag, removing hot pink and turquoise and replacing them with blue. In 1979, he created the 6-stripe version that's still used today. The rainbow flag was established as a symbol of LGBTQ plus pride in 1994. The flag's popularity spiked again when a West Hollywood resident sued his landlord for the right to hang the flag outside his home. Yeah, the Streisand effect. If you're not familiar, that's when your efforts to get rid of something or hide something ends up making it more popular. There was it's named after Barbara Streisand. She's you know what's so funny? I can't name a single Barbra Streisand song, so I'm not like I'm sure that if I heard one, there's at least 1 or 2 that I would recognize if I heard them, but I don't know her. But I know what she looks like, and I know she was a famous diva from back in the day. Anyway, someone, a paparazzi or somebody published a picture of her mansion, put it online, and it had, I want to say 15, but I'll just say less. It had less than 50 likes, right? She sued to try to take the picture down, and it ended up having millions of likes. So her efforts to keep people from seeing the picture just made more people go look at the picture. You know? And so it's like, you know, you killed Harvey Milk, that just made the gay pride flag more popular. You know, it's like you're trying to say that YMCA is not a gay anthem. Guess what's gonna happen? Just guess what's gonna happen? It's gonna have a resurgence. It's like you can't, just leave it alone. Let it be. Let people have it. It's like when people go to war with the internet. It's like, you're gonna lose that. You cannot stop. You can't stop it, right? Remember when? Like if I had told you back in the day, when all these companies were trying to sue people for downloading movies and music and all this, if I'd have told you that less than 20 years later, all that shit, you would pay a small monthly fee and all that shit would just be streamed to your house for free, you would be like, no, it ain't. Right? And so just think about the hundreds of millions of dollars that were wasted trying to go after people for downloading songs when they ended up giving it all away for free anyway, because you can't fight the masses like that. You know, every attempt to try to stop it, it's just made it stronger. You know what's funny? I didn't even know you could download shit before. Well, I knew you could download stuff, but I didn't know when it first came out. I got to remember the world broadband is new. Broadband didn't start. You know, I was in the military at the time, so we didn't get it. We didn't get it in the barracks until 2004, maybe. Or maybe it was 2002. But the point is, you know, before that, if you had internet at all, you had dial-up. You know what I mean? And so back then it was peer to peer. So, if I was downloading a legal song, I was downloading it directly from you. And it was all dependent on your connection and my connection, and it took forever. You want to download an album, it could literally, you would have to start the download and come back a few days later. Wait a few days. Yeah, a few days. You know what I mean? It could take you all day. It could take you all week, all month to download a porn, a whole one. It could take forever. And everyone just, if you were into it, you just had a bunch of shit on downloader. But my point is, and then someone came out with BitTorrent. And BitTorrent was like, oh, everyone that has the file is uploading a little piece of it, which made it, faster. And then the proliferation of broadband made it even faster. So you went from waiting a long ass time to download a bunch of shit, to download one little thing, to be able to just download a whole bunch of shit pretty quickly. Even when torrenting came out, the internet was relatively slow, so it could still take you a few days to torrent an album or something like that, or a movie or something like that. But you were talking about whole, big ass files, better definition, all of the other things. And my point is, I didn't even know what that was, right? I didn't even know what that was. And then one day, a DJ Danger Mouse, he made a remix of Jay-Z had just retired and released the Black Album. And there was an a cappella version of the Black Album. And Danger Mouse took the Black Album, the a cappella version of the Black Album, and he put the lyrics over beats that he made with only sounds from the White Album, from the Beatles' White Album. And he called it the Gray Album, right? And he just uploaded it for free for people to check out. And, at first it was just close friends, family, maybe 50 people had heard the motherfucker. And Sony sent a cease and desist. And that's when it also, and when the internet got a hold of this, just in protest, they planned, I think it was called Gray Day. So, and I don't even know how long it took. Maybe it was 2 or 3 months, where their plan was, we're going to educate the whole internet on what torrenting is and how to do it easily and simply and how to understand it. And then on this day, it was a Monday. On this Monday, on Gray Day, everyone's going to download the Black Album, the Gray Album. And keep in mind, it wasn't everyone, because I'm pretty sure I was the first person in my unit that even knew what torrenting was. But once, and I didn't fully get it until I had the album. And I realized how quick it took compared to keep in mind, I was used to waiting a long time, maybe a week for a whole album. And I had it in one day because there were so many people doing it. I had it like that. And then I started telling everyone in my unit about it, and they started telling people in their family about it, and they started telling people at their work about it, and that's how the torrenting got out of control, all because Sony couldn't let it slide that somebody had used. You know what I mean? All their efforts to stop it just made it bigger, and to the point where they started trying to sue people, and then all their efforts to stop people from downloading just forced them where they got to stream shit. You feel me? It's like once the wave stops, you can't stand in front of the wave and not get swept away. It's just that simple. So listen,